Hi, in this video we will create hexagonal grid. Let's start from creating draw hexes function. Which will have two for loops. First loop will be rows and second loop will be columns. So let's create for loop. Let r rows from 0, rows are less or equal, for example 4, and increment r. Okay, so let's create another loop for columns, also from 0, column less or equals also to 4, and increment column. Okay, we will have position of each hexagon in columns and rows. So let's console log rows and columns, and let's delete calling this function, and let's call draw hexes function. Let's save, open the browser, reload the page. Okay, now we have rows and columns. We need to convert this to coordinates of each hexagon on the canvas. So we need x and y of center of each hexagon. For this, let's open again this article about hexagons, and let's go to hex to pixel. We will use axial coordinates for calculating coordinates of center of each our hexagon, and we see there a function which takes hex object as argument. Hex object consists Q property, column, and row property, row. So let's copy that function and let's paste it here. Okay, we don't need this, and we will call it hex to pixel. Let's use h argument. Let's take hex size from state, and return this point. Okay, so now we have a hex to pixel function which will calculate coordinates of center of each hexagon, and we need to use this function in our draw hexes function. We'll call it here this hex to pixel, and let's create another helper function with name hex, which take column and row argument and return object. Okay, let's save, then go to draw hexes function, and here we need to specify column and row argument. For this we will use our function hex with arguments q and r. So let's assign results to center variable, and let's console log center variable. Let's save, open a browser, and we see that hex with position 0, 0 has coordinates x0, y0. 0, 1 has coordinates of 34 and y 0. This will be 0 column and rows, then column with index 1, then column with index 2. So we need to draw these hexes. To draw them we need draw hex function, and it takes canvas ID argument and center argument. So we will call it, and we have all this information that needs for this function. We'll pass it to it canvas ID and center variable. Let's delete this console log. Let's save, open your browser. Then we see that we draw our first hexagonal grid. Okay, so now we need to draw position of each hex on the canvas. We will not use coordinates, we will use column and row. For this we need to create another draw function. We'll call it draw hex coordinates, and then we'll pass to it canvas ID argument, center, and hexagon H. We will get context of our canvas. And then we will use fill text. We pass to it column, center X, and center Y coordinates. And also we do it for row. Let's save and let's call this function along with draw line function. We'll pass to it canvas ID, center object, and sorry, it's the wrong place for this function. We need to call it from draw hexes function. And we will pass to it position of each hex. So let's save and let's reload our page. Canvas ID is not defined. Okay, so we need to specify canvas ID. Okay, let's just pass this canvas hex instead of canvas ID. So we don't need to pass this to the draw hex function. Okay, let's reload. It's a little bit messy, we need to separate them, and for this we need to do something right, like column will be in the left and right, and row will be on the right, something like that. Okay, we see column, and we see row. Row 1, row 2, row 3, and column 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we need to specify a region of our hexagon with row 0 and column 0. For this we need to use default state of React component. We'll create here hex origin, and it will be object with properties x equals to 300, y equals to 300, for example. Now we need to go to hex to pixel function and create here variable hex origin with this state hex origin, and we need to add hex origin dot x to x coordinate and hex origin dot y to y coordinate. Let's reload, and we see that our grid starts drawing from coordinates that we specify in the variable hex origin. Okay, so now interesting thing, it draw hexes only on the right and bottom of our 0 hexagon, but we need to fill all canvas with hexagons. For this we need to specify negative values. For example, let's open draw hexes and type here -4 and here -4. So from -4 to 4. Let's save, refresh, and we see our 0 hexagon, and we see hexagon on the left side of it, on the right, on the top, and on the bottom. So let's fill all canvas with hexagons. I will use a very simple approach. I'm not gonna shift these hexagons in the left to compensate shifting to the right. I'll just create as much hexagons as I need to fill all this canvas, and then I will use condition to draw hexes with coordinates only which larger 0 and less than canvas width and canvas height. So let's start. We will need canvas width and canvas height from the state canvas size, and we will need to know hexagons width and height. For this, let's open again this article, and here we have formula for calculating width and height of our hexagon. So let's create function get hex parameters. And first of all, let's find height of our hexagon. For this, we will use this state hex size multiplied by 2. Then we need to find width of our hexagon. We'll use math. So also let's find vertical distance between hexagons in different rows and horizontal distance between hexagons in one row. So vertical distance will be let's rename variables to camel case. And horizontal distance of hexagon equals to hexagon's width. Okay, let's return these parameters as an object. And let's call this function in component will mount. Let's create hex parameters variable, and let's add this information to our state. So we'll create object with name hex parameters and assign to it these hex parameters. So we now have parameters of hexagon in our state, and now we can access them right here. I will copy this return from get hex parameters and paste it here. This state hex parameters. So let's check if it works. We'll console log hex width. Let's reload the page. Okay, we see that with our hexagon equals to 34.64. It works. Okay, now we need to find how many hexagons we need to draw from left side, on the left side, and on the right side, on the top and the bottom. For this we will create variables column left side. So it will be columns on the left side here. And for calculating how many columns we need on the left side, we need to actually get hex origin coordinates. We need to get coordinates of this 0 hexagon. We will take it from this state hex origin because we added it here in the default state to use it in the hex to pixel function. So we created hex origin variable, and we need to actually hex origin is distance between x0 to 0 hexagon center, and it will be, for example, in our example 300. So we just type hex origin x, and to know how many hexagons will fit in this distance, we need to divide hex origin distance from 0 to center of 0 hexagon. We need to divide this distance by hexagon's width, which equals to 34.64. So let's divide it by hex width. We take this variable from here, from state hex parameters, and let's create column right side. And to calculate how many hexagons we need on the right side of 0 hexagon, we need to subtract hexaregion distance from 0 to 0 hexagon from canvas width, and we will get this distance. So for this we'll type minus hex region x, and we need to divide by hex width. So let's round result. And let's pass these variables instead of numbers here. Minus and then right side. So let's save and check. Okay, so we need to do the same for top and bottom. For this, let's create let variable our top side. Let's round. Then we need hex origin y, distance from 0 y here is 0 to hexagon 0, so it will be this distance. And we need to divide it by hex height, and we need to divide hex height by 2 also, because the real height of hexagon on canvas, not this height from one corner to another, but this height. So let's do the same for our bottom side. Math round. We will take canvas height minus hex origin y and divide it by hex height divided by 2. So let's now pass these variables instead of this minus r top side and plus r bottom side. Let's save and let's update. Okay, here we have our 0 hex and we have hexagons around it. This is hexagonal grid, so to fill all canvas we need to add more columns. I will do it simply by multiplying left side by 4, for example. Okay, and we need to multiply right side by 2. Let's save and check. Okay, now we need to draw hexagons only which match canvas. So we need to get rid of these hexagons. For this we will create a condition here. If, first of all, center x coordinate of hexagon larger than hex width divided by 2, and center x less than canvas width minus hex width. Then we draw hexes. Actually we don't need else here, so let's check. Okay, we see that this part draw only these hexes and not draw these hexes, and this part draw only these hexes. Actually, let's try to delete compensation of hex width. Okay, so we need this because we have half of canvas, half of hexagon here. Maybe we can divide it by 2 and we'll see. So let's create the same for, let's wrap this in parentheses and let's create another condition. Where center y larger than hex height divided by 2 and center y less than canvas height minus hex height. Let's check. Okay, it seems that here is a space for additional row, so we will divide hex height by 2 So now we have hexagonal grid. So let's commit. Creating hexagonal grid. Okay, we need to add first, then create commit. Okay, now git push origin master, then specify your login and password. Okay, in the next video we will create mouse move event and synchronize our canvas with movement of our mouse pointer, and we will highlight current hexagon. Thanks for watching.